started as an amateur with no idea or no intention of becoming world champion, but I was curious to find out what it was like to drive a car fast, to drive on a certain circuit, to drive a certain type of car.
Today we will be looking at a British Formula 1 driver who won 2 titles in 1963 and 1965, took 25 wins and stood on the podium 32 times. I am of course referring to the unique talent of Jim Clark. When debating who is the greatest Formula 1 driver of all time, Clark's name comes up on that list more often than not. His incredible natural talent meant he was able to win in various different motorsport categories, thanks to his special ability to adapt himself to any car he was put into. But while Jim is remembered for his incredible skill behind the wheel, he is arguably remembered better for the kind of person he was off the track. Clark was the epitome of a gentleman driver. His immense amounts of integrity and modesty meant he was loved by fans and drivers alike. And even though he stood out of the crowd somewhat, as he was a very reserved and shy man, he still managed to leave behind a legacy that very few have been able to replicate. James Clark Jr., or more commonly known as Jim Clark, was born on the 4th of March 1936 in the small Scottish town of Kilmeny. He was born into a pretty wealthy farming family and was privately educated in and around the Kilmeny area, so he was quite a good fit to be a true gentleman driver. Now, Jim began to take an interest in cars at a pretty young age when he was given the responsibility by his father to drive various tractors and other farming vehicles around the family farm. But as you'd expect, tractors aren't the fastest vehicles on earth. So the moment he could, he passed his driving tests, bought his own car, and entered the world of motorsport. Well, to begin with, Clark entered some local road rallies and hill climbs driving his Sunbeam Talbot Mark III. And well, he was bloody good at it too. After being noticed as a serious talent, he graduated to club races in a variety of different sports cars entered for him by some of his wealthy friends. But interestingly, although he was enjoying incredible success behind the wheel, he didn't actually enjoy the attention of winning races all too much. Rather, he actually found it quite embarrassing. On top of this, he also felt guilty that he was racing against his family's wishes. But his friends could see how talented Jim was and encouraged him to pursue racing more seriously. And so, once Jim committed 100% to motorsport, the only way was up. And in 1956, he entered his first championship. And in just 2 years of semi-pro racing, Clark was driving for the local Border Reivers team for Ian Scott Watson, racing Jaguar D-types and Porsches in national events, and he certainly got into a groove, winning 18 races.
In 1958, Clark raced at Brands Hatch in a Lotus. He immediately impressed and was promoted by Lotus chairman, CEO and legend Colin Chapman, who was watching to race a Lotus Formula Junior car. Off the back of this, once again he excelled and was promoted to Team Lotus for the latter part of the 1960 F1 season. 33 poles, 25 wins, 72 race starts were the result of this, and he raced for Lotus his whole career. Titles came in 1963 and 1965. He was a preceding legend of Juan Manuel Fangio. During these years, he competed in lots of other championships, including NASCAR, Le Mans 24 Hours, and lots of other single-seater and sports car events. His racing instinct burnt bright all year round. He could drive and win in any series, and this is what separated him from the rest. And let's not forget, like Fangio, Clark was racing in F1 at a time when death was part of the sport. On his debut in 1960, 2 drivers were killed. He contemplated retiring on a number of occasions, usually driven by the danger and fatalities witnessed. Colin Chapman's genius and Jim Clark's expertise made for a dream team at Lotus, and had it not been for reliability, there could have been plenty more than just the 2 titles. Despite the champion's success, he still shunned the limelight. He hated any kind of press conferences or public appearance. In 1966, Clark eclipsed Fangio's record of 25 F1 victories. Like Fangio, Clark very rarely made a mistake, and this is what made him the best of his time in the 60s, and of course, what helped him survive for as long as he did. Okay, so I've been presented with this, well, very kindly by Lotus, with this Bible to Jim Clark, in a way. It's, well, worth about £500 apparently. It's a very nice book, like that, you see. And it's got kind of every photo, image from his life, his career that you could possibly imagine. So when I'm flicking through it here, you've literally just got him there racing, which I believe looks like Brands Hatch. I mean, yeah, it's literally got everything you need, everything about him, every image you could imagine. It's got about 500 pages as well. It's a very nice book, but obviously I'm not reading the whole thing. But yeah, there we go. On April 7th, 1968, Clark took part in a Formula 2 race in Hockenheim, Germany. He had a tyre failure and was killed. It was a very sudden death, and it was hard for the world to comprehend. The racing world was in shock. Many felt the heart gone out of the sport.
For such a quiet and reserved man, Jim Clark left a legacy behind, completely the opposite of that. His unique ability to adapt himself to drive any car allowed him to achieve incredible success throughout many different motorsport categories. Drivers felt at the time, if Jim Clark could die, what hope do we have? Even Sir Jackie Stewart himself said he never bullied a racing car, he just caressed it into doing the things he wanted to do.
Clark also said himself, "I don't drive any faster, I just concentrate harder, which makes me go faster." Clark will be forever remembered as an F1 legend as well as a motor racing legend.